Somebody stole it. I burnt my leg. I lost my mind. I was only drunk because I didn't have no food. Nobody cared that I didn't have food. Y'all just kept giving me Patron. I didn't have any food all night long, and I paid all the money.
Because I look at you different. Why the about my baby mom? I don't give it. Yo, if you ever was the talk to nigga, she'd tell you that.
I would never talk to that bitch on my level. She ain't do nothing to me, and she never been in my circle. She never been around that.
And you've been bringing it up. So now I'm gonna give you what you want. I'm never gonna touch you again. I'm never physically gonna hurt you. You married this nigga, I'm blowing this head off on everything I love. I'm going back to prison.
44-year-old Armond Hilton is wanted for murder, robbery, and related charges. Police say he shot and killed Nitiffa Wade inside a barbershop on Lehigh Avenue on Saturday afternoon. Investigators say Hilton opened fire inside the barbershop, hitting Wade in her torso and head. She died at the scene. Hilton is considered armed and dangerous.
North Philadelphia, October 7th, 2023. A Saturday afternoon that forever changed the lives of many. At exactly 1:48 p.m., inside a busy barbershop on the 2500 block of West Lehigh Avenue, the mundane rhythm of daily life was violently disrupted. Customers chatted while waiting their turn, the buzzing of clippers filled the air, and conversations flowed freely, until gunshots pierced through it all. In broad daylight, 40-year-old Nitiffa Wade was gunned down in front of horrified onlookers. Multiple bullets struck her torso and head, leaving her with injuries so severe that despite the rapid arrival of emergency medical personnel, she was pronounced dead shortly after 2 p.m. The bustling barbershop, a community gathering place, transformed into a crime scene in mere seconds. It happened so fast, recalled one witness who requested anonymity. 1 minute people were talking and laughing, the next there was chaos. Everyone scattered when the shots rang out. Nobody expected something like this in the middle of the day, with so many people around. Nitiffa Wade was more than just a victim in a shocking crime. To her 3 children, she was a dedicated mother who worked tirelessly to provide stability and opportunity. To her patients, she was a compassionate registered nurse whose care made difficult moments bearable. To her community in Coatesville, Pennsylvania, she was a respected figure who balanced multiple responsibilities with grace. Wade's Islamic faith guided her actions and decisions, forming the foundation of her character. Friends described her as someone whose spirituality influenced how she treated others, with kindness, patience, and understanding. These qualities served her well in both her nursing career and her entrepreneurial ventures. She always put others first, said a former colleague from the hospital where Wade worked. That's what made her such an exceptional nurse. She could connect with patients on a human level, making them feel seen and heard during their most vulnerable moments. The news of Wade's murder spread quickly through social media and local news outlets. Community members expressed shock that such violence could occur so openly. Questions emerged immediately. Who would target a mother of 3? Why choose such a public location? What could possibly motivate such a brazen attack? Philadelphia Police Department officials held a press conference that evening, revealing that they had identified a suspect, 44-year-old Armond Hilton, a man with a documented history of violence. The announcement stunned those who knew Wade, as it became clear this wasn't a random act of violence but something deeply personal. "We are looking for Armond Hilton in connection with this homicide," the police captain stated. "He should be considered armed and dangerous. We're offering a $20,000 reward for information leading to his arrest." What the brief news reports couldn't capture was the complicated history between Wade and Hilton. Their relationship stretched back years, intertwining their lives in ways few understood. Business partnerships, financial entanglements, and personal connections created a complex web that ultimately led to that fatal afternoon. Hilton had recently been released from prison, where he had served time for previous offenses. During his incarceration, Wade had managed his properties and business interests, a responsibility that would later become central to the conflict between them. The Barbershop shooting wasn't just another statistic in Philadelphia's struggle with gun violence. It represented the devastating culmination of trust, betrayal, jealousy, and rage, emotions that had been building for months, perhaps years. In the days following the murder, communities across Philadelphia held vigils. Candles illuminated photographs of Wade's smiling face as speakers addressed the growing issue of domestic violence and the need for intervention before disputes escalate to deadly confrontations. "We cannot keep losing mothers, daughters, and vital community members to violence," said a community organizer at one such gathering. "Each person lost leaves a void that cannot be filled." As law enforcement launched a manhunt for Hilton, Wade's family began the painful process of planning a funeral while caring for her now motherless children. The question that hung in the air: could this tragedy have been prevented? In the coming minutes, we'll explore the relationship between Nitiffa Wade and Armond Hilton, how it formed, evolved, and ultimately fractured. We'll examine the warning signs that preceded the violence and the missed opportunities for intervention that might have saved a life. Before we continue this tragic story, if you're finding this account informative, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us bring attention to these important cases and the broader issues they represent. If you know someone who might benefit from this information, consider sharing this video with them. Now let's delve into the relationship that set the stage for this tragedy. Long before the fatal confrontation at the barbershop, Nitiffa Wade and Armond Hilton shared a complicated history that would ultimately set the stage for tragedy. Their connection stretched back many years, characterized by periods of mutual support interspersed with tension and conflict. What began as a personal relationship evolved into something far more intricate when Hilton faced incarceration. Court records and accounts from those who knew the pair indicate that Hilton's criminal activities predated his relationship with Wade. At 44, he had accumulated a substantial record that included multiple offenses. Despite his legal troubles, Hilton had managed to acquire various properties and establish business ventures throughout Philadelphia and surrounding areas. When Hilton was sentenced to prison, he faced a critical decision. Who could he trust to manage his assets while he served his time? His choice fell on Wade, a decision that would fundamentally alter the dynamic between them. With Hilton behind bars, Wade assumed control of his financial portfolio, a responsibility that went far beyond typical relationship expectations. He put everything in her hands, explained a mutual acquaintance familiar with their arrangement, his properties, his business dealings, all of it. That kind of trust doesn't happen without a deep connection, but it also places enormous pressure on the person holding it all together. During this period, Wade maintained her career as a registered nurse while simultaneously managing Hilton's affairs. Her days were split between hospital shifts providing patient care and overseeing rental properties, handling tenant issues, and maintaining business relationships on Hilton's behalf. This dual existence required exceptional organizational skills and resilience. As a healthcare professional, Wade earned respect from colleagues for her dedication to patients. Yet few of her hospital coworkers knew about her other responsibilities. She effectively navigated two worlds: the structured environment of medical care and the complex landscape of property management and business operations. Her Islamic faith provided a framework for this challenging balancing act. Wade drew strength from her spiritual practice as she juggled professional duties, parental responsibilities for her 3 children, and the management of Hilton's interests. During this time, she developed greater financial independence and business acumen. While Hilton served his sentence, Wade's role evolved beyond caretaker of his assets. She became the decision-maker, exercising authority over financial matters that had once been solely Hilton's domain. This shift represented a significant change in their power dynamic, one that Hilton may not have anticipated when he first entrusted her with his holdings. As months turned into years, Wade's perspective began to change. Managing Hilton's affairs had given her insights into financial opportunities and possibilities for her own future. She made a pivotal decision to sell some of Hilton's properties. The exact motivation behind this choice remains unclear. Whether it was financial necessity, strategic business planning.
Oh, pretty kisses here. Oh, it's in the back as well? Oh, yes. Okay, kisses. Oh, yeah, I like this. Oh, yeah, this is cute.
Yeah.
For sure.
I would take a couple on.
Okay. Yeah, I like this a lot. One that
Preparation for a new chapter in her life. Concurrent with these business decisions, Wade's personal life took a new direction. She made plans to remarry, a step that would further distance her from Hilton and signal a definitive end to whatever personal relationship they once shared. What Wade couldn't fully anticipate was Hilton's reaction upon learning of these developments after his release. His history provided troubling indicators of how he might respond to perceived betrayal. Prior incidents had demonstrated his capacity for aggression when feeling threatened or disrespected. During Hilton's incarceration, the relationship between them had functioned through a specific arrangement. Wade as the appointed manager, Hilton as the absent owner. But his return to society disrupted this established order. The man who walked out of prison expected to reclaim not just his freedom, but complete control over his assets and influence in Wade's life. Court documents revealed that Hilton had previously exhibited controlling behaviors in relationships. His criminal record included incidents of aggression that suggested difficulty managing anger and accepting rejection. These behavioral patterns would prove critically relevant when confronted with Wade's independent actions. The foundation of trust upon which their arrangement had been built gradually eroded. Wade's decision to sell properties and plan a new marriage represented, in Hilton's perception, a profound breach of loyalty. The financial transactions became inseparable from what he viewed as personal betrayal. As Philadelphia police would later determine, this combustible combination of factors, disputed assets, personal rejection, shifted power dynamics, and a history of violent behavior, created conditions primed for conflict. The stage was set for a confrontation that would ultimately claim Wade's life in the most public and devastating manner possible. Upon his release from prison, Armond Hilton returned to a reality drastically different from the one he had left behind. The properties and businesses he considered his own had changed hands. The woman he had entrusted with his assets was moving forward with her life, making plans that didn't include him. According to those close to the situation, Hilton's initial disbelief quickly transformed into rage. He couldn't comprehend how she could make these decisions without his approval, said a source familiar with their relationship. In his mind, she was merely holding his possessions until he returned. The idea that she had autonomy over these assets, that she could sell them and redirect her life, was something he refused to accept. Court documents would later reveal that Hilton's first reaction was to demand explanations. When face-to-face meetings with Wade didn't yield the answers he wanted, his approach intensified. Phone records showed repeated calls at all hours, escalating from demands to outright intimidation. The threats began subtly, but grew increasingly explicit. Text messages recovered from Wade's phone showed Hilton's mounting anger. "You won't get away with taking what's mine." Read one message sent 3 weeks before the shooting. Another sent just days before the incident, stated ominously, "You'll regret this decision." Wade reported these communications to friends and family members, expressing growing concern about Hilton's behavior. One colleague at the hospital where she worked noted that Wade had begun looking over her shoulder more frequently, checking her surroundings whenever she left the building. She had also mentioned to several people that she was considering a restraining order but worried about how such an action might further provoke Hilton. "She told me she didn't want to escalate the situation," the colleague recalled. She hoped that by giving him time to cool down, he would eventually accept the new circumstances. She was trying to handle it diplomatically. In the week before October 7th, witnesses reported seeing Hilton's vehicle parked outside Wade's workplace on multiple occasions. Security camera footage from her neighborhood showed him driving past her house repeatedly. These surveillance activities suggested a man obsessively tracking the movements of his target, gathering information while formulating a plan. During this period, Wade continued her normal routines, working at the hospital, attending to her children's needs, and maintaining her regular appointments. According to her calendar, recovered after her death, the barbershop visit on October 7th was a standing appointment she kept every other Saturday. The morning of October 7th began with Wade dropping her youngest child at a friend's house for a playdate. She completed several errands, including stopping at a bank and grocery shopping, based on receipts found in her purse. At approximately 1:30 p.m., surveillance footage from a store across the street captured her arriving at the barbershop on West Lehigh Avenue. The establishment was a neighborhood fixture, known for its busy weekend atmosphere. On this particular Saturday, at least 8 customers and 3 barbers were present. The space was filled with conversation and music, a typical weekend scene that would soon become anything but ordinary. Wade had been inside for approximately 18 minutes, waiting for her turn in the barber's chair. Witnesses later told police that she had been engaged in casual conversation with other patrons, showing no signs of distress or awareness of the danger approaching. At 1:48 p.m., Hilton entered the barbershop. According to multiple witness statements, he didn't speak or announce himself. He walked directly toward Wade, pulled out a handgun, and fired multiple times at close range. The official medical examiner's report would later confirm that Wade sustained gunshot wounds to her torso and head. The barbershop erupted into chaos. Patrons dove for cover or fled through the front and back exits. One barber attempted to intervene, but stepped back when Hilton pointed the weapon in his direction. The entire incident lasted less than 30 seconds. Yet its consequences would echo indefinitely. Philadelphia Police Department officers arrived within minutes, responding to multiple 911 calls reporting gunshots. Despite immediate medical attention from first responders, Wade was pronounced dead shortly after 2 p.m. By then, Hilton had disappeared from the scene, beginning what would become an extensive manhunt. The suspect clearly targeted the victim. The lead detective stated in a preliminary press conference that evening. This was not random violence, but a deliberate attack carried out with precision and forethought. The barbershop, typically a place of community gathering and conversation, became instead a crime scene marked by yellow tape and forensic investigators. For the neighborhood, the brazen nature of the attack, executed in public view during daylight hours, heightened fears about personal safety and the reach of domestic violence. If you found this account of the events leading up to this tragedy informative, please support our channel by hitting the like button and subscribing now. Your engagement helps us continue documenting these important cases and raising awareness about domestic violence. The warning signs we've discussed might help someone you know. Share this video to potentially save a life. Now let's examine how law enforcement responded to this shocking public execution. Inside the barbershop, witnesses experienced the shooting from various vantage points, each perspective adding to the horrific tableau. A barber who had been cutting a client's hair near the front window described the moment Hilton entered. The door swung open hard. He didn't look around or hesitate. He moved straight toward her with purpose. Several patrons noted Hilton's focused expression, describing his face as emotionless and determined as he approached Wade. There was no argument, no exchange of words, recalled another witness who had been seated just 2 chairs away from Wade. He pulled out the gun and fired immediately. The first shot hit her in the torso, and as she fell, he continued shooting. Forensic evidence would later confirm that multiple rounds struck Wade, with the final shots directed at her head. A methodical execution carried out with cold precision. The barbershop's confined space amplified the chaos. The gunshots echoed deafeningly off the walls, mixing with screams as people scrambled for safety. One customer described diving behind a counter, while another recalled freezing in shock, unable to process the violence unfolding mere feet away. A third witness reported that Hilton made direct eye contact with others in the shop after shooting Wade, silently challenging anyone to intervene before backing out of the establishment. Emergency medical technicians arrived within 4 minutes of the first 911 call, finding Wade unconscious and bleeding profusely on the barbershop floor. Despite their immediate efforts to stabilize her, including emergency trauma protocols and rapid transport preparations, her injuries proved catastrophic. Hospital records indicate she was officially pronounced dead at 2:04 p.m., approximately 16 minutes after Hilton entered the barbershop. Philadelphia Police Department's response was swift and comprehensive. The first patrol unit secured the crime scene while detectives began interviewing witnesses and collecting evidence. Crime scene technicians recovered bullet casings and documented blood spatter patterns. The handgun, later identified as a 9mm semi-automatic pistol, had been used in violation of the Uniform Firearms Act, given Hilton's status as a prohibited possessor due to his criminal history. Our immediate priority was securing witness statements before memories could fade or be influenced, explained the lead investigator assigned to the case. With so many people present, we had multiple accounts to corroborate, which helped us establish a clear timeline. Surveillance footage from neighboring businesses provided additional evidence, capturing Hilton's arrival and hasty departure. Despite the rapid police response, Hilton successfully evaded immediate capture. He had planned his escape route, avoiding main streets where police cruisers would likely patrol. A witness reported seeing him enter a dark-colored sedan parked a block away, suggesting he had arranged transportation in advance, a detail indicating premeditation rather than a crime of passion. The manhunt faced significant challenges from the outset. Hilton's familiarity with Philadelphia's neighborhoods gave him advantage. He had connections throughout the city from his previous criminal activities, potentially providing him with hideout locations. Additionally, investigators noted that his prior incarceration had taught him techniques to avoid detection. He knows how to stay off the grid, a department spokesperson explained at a press briefing 3 days after the shooting. No credit card usage, no cell phone activity we can trace. He's clearly drawing on experience to remain hidden. This sophisticated evasion complicated tracking efforts and stretched resources thin as officers pursued multiple leads simultaneously. Philadelphia officials announced a $20,000 reward for information leading to Hilton's capture, hoping to incentivize tips from the public. Digital billboards throughout the city displayed his photograph and warning information. Local news stations aired segments featuring his image during every broadcast. The community response revealed complex dynamics. While many came forward with potential sightings and information, others remained reluctant to get involved. Fear of retaliation played a significant role in this hesitation. Hilton's violent act had demonstrated what he was capable of doing, making some witnesses afraid to identify themselves to authorities. Community organizations held meetings to address concerns and encourage cooperation with law enforcement. Religious leaders from various faiths, including imams from Wade's Muslim community, made public appeals urging anyone with knowledge of Hilton's whereabouts to come forward in the interest of justice and public safety. As days turned into weeks with Hilton still at large, the case transformed from an immediate crisis response into a sustained investigation, one that would test the resolve of both law enforcement and a community demanding answers. The murder of Nitiffa Wade represents more than an isolated act of violence. It highlights critical gaps in systems designed to protect vulnerable individuals. Examining these shortcomings provides insight into how such tragedies might be prevented in the future. During the investigation, authorities discovered that multiple warning signs had preceded the shooting. Hilton's threats toward Wade had been documented in text messages and reported to friends. Yet these red flags didn't trigger protective intervention. This gap points to a fundamental weakness in how domestic conflicts are monitored and addressed before they escalate to violence. There were opportunities for intervention that didn't materialize, noted a domestic violence prevention advocate consulting on the case. When individuals with known violent histories make threats, those warnings deserve immediate attention from multiple agencies. The system shouldn't wait for violence to occur before acting decisively. The case exposes specific failures in protective services. According to experts who reviewed the circumstances, a coordinated approach involving law enforcement, social services, and mental health professionals could have created a safety net around Wade. Alternative measures, such as temporary restraining orders, mandatory monitoring for Hilton, or emergency housing assistance, might have disrupted the path to violence. Particularly troubling is how Hilton, despite his documented criminal history, obtained the firearm used in the shooting. Current regulations aim to prevent individuals with violent records from accessing weapons, yet enforcement remains inconsistent. The handgun used to kill Wade represented a critical failure point in gun control enforcement, a gap with fatal consequences. Each prohibited individual who successfully obtains a firearm represents a breakdown in the system, explained a firearms policy expert. Strengthening background checks, closing private sale loopholes, and enhancing penalties for straw purchases could reduce these incidents. The expert emphasized that gun violence prevention requires both legislative reform and more rigorous implementation of existing laws. The ripple effects of Wade's murder extend far beyond the immediate events. Her 3 children now face life without their mother, a devastating loss with long-term psychological and practical implications. Community support networks have rallied to provide counseling services and financial assistance, but these efforts cannot fill the void left by her absence. Wade's professional community also feels the loss acutely. Her nursing colleagues established a memorial scholarship to honor her dedication to patient care, ensuring her commitment to helping others continues even after her death. The hospital where she worked implemented enhanced security protocols, acknowledging the vulnerability of healthcare workers to targeted violence. The Islamic community in Coatesville held prayer services and remembrance gatherings, emphasizing Wade's devotion to her faith and family. Religious leaders used these occasions to discuss strategies for supporting community members experiencing threatening relationships, encouraging early intervention before situations become dangerous. Prevention strategies identified by experts include several key components that might have altered the outcome for Wade. First, enhanced risk assessment tools could help identify high-risk situations before they turn deadly. When individuals like Hilton make threats following major relationship changes, these warning signs should trigger automatic review by threat assessment teams with authority to implement protective measures. Second, improved agency communication could close dangerous information gaps. If Wade's reports about Hilton's threatening behavior had been shared effectively between law enforcement entities, social services, and community organizations, a more comprehensive safety plan might have been implemented. Third, public education campaigns about recognizing threatening behavior could empower bystanders to report concerns. Several people knew about Hilton's escalating threats, but didn't recognize their severity or know how to respond effectively. Fourth, monitoring high-risk individuals during periods of transition, such as release from incarceration or after significant relationship changes, could provide crucial oversight during vulnerable periods. Hilton's return to society represented a particularly dangerous phase that warranted closer attention. As of this report, Armond Hilton remains at large despite extensive search efforts. Philadelphia police maintain an active investigation, following leads, and periodically releasing updated information to keep public attention on the case. The $20,000 reward for information leading to his arrest remains available, though tips have decreased over time. Justice delayed is not justice denied, the lead detective stated in a recent press update. We continue to pursue every lead and will not rest until Hilton faces consequences for his actions. Cases like this don't grow cold. They simply require persistence and public assistance. Wade's story has become a catalyst for local policy discussions about domestic violence prevention. Community forums have formed to address protection gaps, and city council members have proposed funding increases for violence prevention programs. Organizations serving at-risk individuals report increased requests for information about safety planning and threat assessment, an indication that Wade's story is prompting proactive awareness. The Philadelphia Commission on Women recently announced plans to establish a task force focused specifically on improving responses to domestic threats, citing Wade's case as evidence of the urgent need for system-wide improvements. This initiative aims to create more effective collaboration between agencies and provide better protection for vulnerable individuals. Wade's legacy lives on through these policy discussions and through the lives she touched as a mother, nurse, and community member. Her story serves as both a warning about the consequences of inadequate protection systems and an inspiration for meaningful reform. If this video has impacted you, please take action now. Like and subscribe to support our continued coverage of these important issues. Share this video to spread awareness about domestic violence warning signs. Your engagement helps ensure that stories like Nitiffa Wade's lead to meaningful change. Consider supporting domestic violence prevention organizations in your community. One report, one donation, one conversation might save a life. Together, we can honor Wade's memory by working toward a future where such tragedies are prevented before they occur.